Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. If you have not already subscribed to my channel, please do subscribe to my channel. And today's topic is understanding if versus where statement to find first non-missing value in a group. Here, actually what I wanted to show was how to find first non-missing value in a group. But to do that, you also need to understand how if versus where statement works for the example and for the code which I am giving. And it's also important to understand how if statement and where statement work, even though both of them filter data, the way they work are pretty different. Now let us get into our example and see what are we going to solve in here. In here I have a data set in which I have 8 observations. First 4 observations are related to ID 001 and the next 4 observations are related to ID 002. And if you see in here, ID 001 has 2 missing observations for SBP variable, and then it has a value at third observation. So this is the first observation where you don't have non-missing value for SBP. And in the case of 002, the second observation is the first non-missing value in a group where SBP is not missing. So to simply put, we want our result to be something like this: 001 and 116 as our SBP and 002 112 as our SBP. So here what I am trying to tell is, or what I am trying to solve is, to find first non-missing value, and that too in that particular ID. Now, to understand this, we need to understand three concepts. Now, let us look into the first concept, which is if versus a where statement. Now, everything and anything is good to understand through an example. Let's try to look through an example in here. In here, I have a if statement and I also have a where statement, and I'm filtering records in both of them. In the first data step, what I want is if name equal to Alfred. I want to create that particular data set. And let me also rename this data set as class 1. Now I can run both of these data steps at once, and let's do that. Once I run both of these steps, you can see that work class dot has one observation, work dot class 1 also has one observation. So the final result with if and where are same. Again, I did not go in details about SAS help class. I assume most of you might not know about it, but it has a lot of names. One of the name is Alfred. Name is a variable in here. Now, as I've shown you, if and where has same results, then what is really different between both of them? To understand that, we need to understand few things. That is how our data step works. Data step has two phases. Means when you try to run data step code, it will run in two phases. The first phase is compilation phase, where all the variable attributes are set, and second phase is execution, where data is loaded or populated. Now I would like to explain very briefly how this compilation and execution phase work, but my explanation will be very brief. In here I have a data step wherein I am copying data from SAS help class and I am creating a new data set as class 0. When I run this code, what happens is, behind the scene, a compilation phase and an execution phase work. Before going into those details, let's quickly look into SAS help.class dataset. Here SAS help.class has 5 variables. During compilation phase, what happens is all these 5 variable attributes will be captured, and also a PDV will be created. PDV is a logical area of memory where data step processing happens. I'm not going to go into details of PDV. My friend Ankur Gupta in his analytics school channel has made a very detailed video on this, and link for the same I will give in the description below. Once these variable attributes are set in the compilation phase, what happens in execution phase is one observation after another observation is written to this class 0 dataset. So it happens by one observation at a time. Now let us also click on this SAS help.class dataset. So the first observation in here will be written to class 0 during execution phase. Then it will write second observation to class 0 dataset. In that fashion, one observation after another, it will write all the observations to class 0. It is important to know that it is written one observation at a time. Now let me also close this tab and let's get back to our topic. Here I wanted to explain what is the difference between if and where. This we can do by using a put statement before if statement and also before where statement in separate data steps. Now let us write this as class 1 dataset. Now what does this put do? Put, what it does is it tells us what are the observations with variables are there, it will write into the log. As I am keeping this before my if statement, let us see what happens. Now let me quickly run this. As I said to you, in the execution phase, 19 observations are read, and these are those 19 observations. You can also see from the note that there were 19 observations. So all these 19 observations are read, and then our if statement is applied. That is why we have only one observation. Now I want to reiterate this point once again. In here all the 19 observations were read into our PDV, and then our if statement was applied on those 19 observation, and we have captured our one observation for this data set. Now where is very different than if. What it does is where is applied during compilation phase itself. So what it does is it will tell not to bring all the 19 observations into PDV, means your where is applied even before observations are got into PDV. How I am telling this and how do I prove it? Now let me quickly run this, and also let's look into the log. In the log you can see that there is only one observation that is read from SAS help.class. So a if statement is applied at execution phase or runtime, whereas our where statement is applied in the compilation phase itself. So all the 19 rows are not read into PDV. This is one major difference between if and where. That is, where is applied in compilation phase, that is even before data is loaded. If is applied in runtime, that is during execution time after data is loaded. With this understanding, let's try to understand one more concept and then we will finish our topic. Understand the difference between if versus where. One of the SAS blog is very helpful and I will give the link for the same in the description below. Now let us move into our next topic. And in this topic we will understand first dot by variable and last dot by variable. And in here I am just interested in explaining first dot by variable itself. I have made a very detailed video on first dot by variable and last dot by variable, and link for the same I will give in the description below. To understand first dot by variable and last dot by variable, let's look into the same example which I have discussed in the very beginning. That is our test data set in which we have 8 observations. And one important thing in here is the ID variable is already sorted. That is 001 comes first and then 002 comes next. So I can use this by ID in here. In here we are using our data set which I have shown you earlier, and I'm also saying by ID, but instead of creating a new data set I'm just using underscore null underscore. And the most important thing in this code in here is I have also used put statement in here where I am saying put underscore all underscore. And here is the important thing to know. Whenever we say underscore all underscore, it gives all the variable information. And as we have asked put statement, or as we have used put statement, all of these variables will be in our log once we run this code. And we need to remember one another thing in here. Whenever we use underscore all underscore, we definitely will have two variables, that is underscore error underscore underscore and underscore. These are automatic variables and they are just during the data step processing. But as we have used by ID, it creates two more automatic slash temporary variables, and those are first.id and last.id. Now let me quickly run this code and see what happens in here. And let's focus on our log. In the log you can see that we have all the variables, that is id, sbp, first.id, last.id, underscore error underscore underscore and underscore. I will be not talking anything about underscore error underscore or underscore and underscore. Now what I have done is I have copied this and pasted in here so that it looks little bit more cleaner, and what I did was I aligned everything in here. Now let us have a close look at first.id and last.id variables. Here whenever it is first.id, the value is 1 for the very first observation of that particular by group. And if it is a last observation, last.id will be 1. So here the important point to remember is 1 means true, 0 means false. Means it is in here telling that this is the first observation for this particular ID. And the same in the case of ID2, when it is first.id equal to 1, it is telling us that this is the first observation. And another important point to remember, we have first.id equal to 0, last.id equal to 0 for some observations. What does that mean? That simply means that these are not either the first observation or the last observation for this particular by group. So if you want to pick the first observation for each ID, What we can simply do is, in our data step, after by id, we can simply write something like this: if first.id equal to 1. And also let me also change the dataset name in here and write test 2 or something like that. And let me also put a semicolon in here. Whenever it is equal to 1, we need not state equal to 1 also. It is implied if I write if first.id. When I run this code, what it will do is it will give me the first observation in each by group or per each id. Here you can see our result, that is we have two observations. The first observation is having id as 001 and SBP value is missing, and the second observation is 002 and we have a missing value for SBP. That is, we have picked up this observation and also this particular observation. Now, what we really want to do is we wanted to solve a problem which I have stated in very beginning, that is to find first non-missing value in a by group. Probably the title should be in a by group. Now, this can be easily done by using a small trick. Now, what I can do is I can write a where statement in here. I can say where SBP is not equal to missing. So what is this going to do for us? It will not read any of the rows which are missing into our PDV. Means it is not going to read this observation. It is not going to read this observation, and also it is not going to read this observation, because as I said to you, where is applied during compilation phase and we will have only these 4 records in our PDV. Now this is our first record in the PDV and equal to 1, and this is second record in our PDV, and this is third record in PDV, and this is fourth record in PDV. It is not right to say this as observation or record because these are basically iteration, and I have made a very detailed video on that concept also, but let's not go into that part now. Now what happens is this observation will become the first.id equal to 1 in here. For 002, this will become the first observation, because in this group we have only 2 observations and this is first observation, so the first.id will be 1. Same is the case with 001, and also here the last.id will be 1 and last.id will be 1 for id equal to 002. Now let me also prove this by running code. Here I have everything set up same, but what I am doing is I am writing where SBP not equal to missing. So what here happens is, here I am doing again put underscore all underscore and all the values will be in the log. Now let me quickly run this. In the log, you will see pretty much what I have shown you in a very manual way, and you can see here that our id equal to 001, first.id equal to 1 is having a value now. Same is the case of id 002. Again this has value when our first.id equal to 1. Now it is very simple to solve this problem. All we need to do is we need to write where SBP not equal to missing, and then we can say if first.id equal to 1. This will give us our first observation with non-missing value for each by group. Now let us quickly go back and see our final code. In our final code, all I need to do is I need to write where SBP not equal to missing, and then I can do if first.id equal to 1, or I can just simply write if first.id. For now, let's leave it as if first.id equal to 1. Now let us quickly run this and see our results. Our results are as expected, and here we have ID 001 with SBP 116, ID 002 with SBP 112. And if you look in here, our sample data set, you can see that 001 and 116 combination and 002 112 combination is first non-missing value for each by group. Now by smartly using where statement and also first.id concept, we are able to solve this problem. Now let us quickly see why can't we solve our problem with something like this, that is if SBP not equal to missing, if first.id equal to 1 logic. As I said to you, whenever we use if statement, we are processing after all the data is populated or loaded into PDV, means it will have a structure something like this. And if I do if SBP not equal to missing, what will happen is it will remove these two and it will remove this one and final one also in here. But here the important point to remember is our variable first.id is no longer 1. It is 0 in here. That is the difference. So we can't do something like this because we no longer have if first.id equal to 1 in here. When we run this code, what will happen is we will not see any records in here itself because there is nothing in here which satisfies this condition because all of them are 0. That's all for this video. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, share and subscribe. Thank you.